What's going on, my fellow A-plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news right here on our YouTube page, A-Plus Hero Report. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your host with the most, Adam Perez, back once again to go ahead and wrap up this year, man. 2020, we're saying bye-bye, thank goodness, to say the least. This is going to be our last live episode of A-Plus Hero Report for the year, but then we will, in fact, be coming back January 2nd for to go ahead and kick off 2021 in a fantastic way. So for right now, tonight, at least for today, I should say, it is just me rounding out 2020. Unfortunately, Stuart and Indy certainly had things that they had to do. I believe Indy was also working a little bit today as well. So it's just you and me in this nice little romantic setting that we have here. Maybe not necessarily romantic, but listen, it's Sunday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We've got ourselves a ton of topics that we're going to be breaking down for you guys today. I've got like 6 or 7 today. I figured since it was just me riding solo, why not just go ahead and throw in as much news from this week as we could to go ahead and round out this year, guys. So we're definitely going to be breaking down a ton of stuff for you guys. So listen, if at any particular point in time you guys have a live viewer question, whether there be a news article you read this week or a topic that you personally want to discuss and bring up onto the show, feel free to go ahead and submit your questions into aplusopinions@gmail.com. You can send them anytime during the week or anytime during the show. Once we wrap up all of our topics, we certainly will be getting towards your live viewer questions towards the end of this episode. So again, if you do have any questions, feel free to go ahead and send them in at aplusopinions@gmail.com, just in case if for some reason, if I'm not able to get to your comments in the live chat section today. So definitely feel free to go ahead and submit your questions over at any time today. And who's actually in the live chat with us today? We got Dino Knights Fight for Your Rights. What's up, AJ? Certainly good to see you coming through, man. And of course, Power Rangers in your area as well. And of course, if we have stragglers, guys, that wind up joining us a little bit late, certainly make them feel welcome as well, guys. So crazy 2020, guys, to say the least. We've had so many incredible announcements, things that I never thought that we would get the opportunity to ever see again. I mean, if you had told me Michael Keaton was going to be announced to return as Batman in a Flash movie, I would have told you were certainly crazy. So while there definitely have been some bumps in the road when it comes to 2020, it's been a devastating year to say the least. There also have been some fantastic announcements this way as well. So hopefully with everything that's the way that it's shaped up in 2020, I'm hoping that 2021 is going to be a sigh of relief, and it should be a juggernaut in regards to just movies, whether that be Marvel, DC, or any movies just in general. 2021 should be a huge year, guys. So it should give us plenty to definitely talk about as we change over this calendar. But guys, before we get into our main topics, just some quick honorable mentions I want to go ahead and knock out. We actually did get ourselves some brand new set photos from, well, not set photos, but some brand new photos for Batwoman Season 2. We're finally getting to get some better glimpses, if you will, into this season and what it's certainly going to look like. We got Javicia Leslie herself in her Batwoman outfit. We clearly know that she actually does get an upgrade from this suit that we see here in this photo here. So if anything, I would probably assume this is maybe from the first or second couple of episodes that we get throughout this season. Some amazing returning faces in here also. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the writers of this show are certainly going to rebound with the loss of Ruby Rose. I think if anything, that's probably why a ton of people might be tuning into at least maybe the first episode of Batwoman season 2 to kind of see how that certainly goes along. We've got Rachel Skarsten returning as Alice. I actually absolutely loved her in the first season. I thought she was probably maybe the season MVP, if you ask me. And then we've got ourselves, I believe this is Bruce Wayne, if I'm not mistaken. I honestly, unfortunately, never finished or concluded Batwoman Season 1. I need to, because Batwoman Season 2 starts here in like less than a month. So I definitely have a lot to look forward to and definitely go ahead and catch up. But I do believe this is, in fact, another shot of Bruce Wayne here. Looks like he's actually in the Batcave as well, kind of messing around with some of his gadgets. So we'll see exactly if there's a truth behind this particular Bruce Wayne, but we'll definitely see. But great to see Javicia Leslie taking on that mantle, and we'll see exactly what she winds up doing when the season starts. I mean, I believe we've talked to Indy about this because Indy is the one that actually does do the reviews for our Batwoman series. He will, in fact, be back for season 2. Certainly don't worry there. But one of the things that I'm really looking forward to seeing is just how they're going to handle this storyline for Javicia Leslie. And if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if she's actually probably the better actor out of those two. I think she probably has more, front screen sort of experience than somebody like a Ruby Rose. So who's to say that this change doesn't actually lift up the production of Batwoman for its second season? So we'll definitely see what happens there. But I definitely want to share that with you. And our last honorable mention, guys, before we get into our topics, Wonder Woman 1984 is actually right around the corner. That's actually set to go ahead and drop here on the 25th in like 5 days, guys. It's going to be available in movie theaters along with HBO Max if your theater isn't open around you. I'm probably going to try and do a little bit of a search to see if there is a theater around me because I personally would not mind trying to see Wonder Woman in like an IMAX or the movie theaters or anything like that. So, but the reason why I bring it up, that Wonder Woman's going to be dropping this week, Rotten Tomatoes has officially certified it fresh. Now, at the beginning of the week, I believe it was sitting at like 89%. It has dropped a little bit to 87%, but clearly a certified fresh film. And I believe that's out of 106 critics that have, in fact, 106 critics that have already given their rating for the movie. So for the most part, people are definitely enjoying this film, but the audience score has yet to be posted yet. I'm sure once the movie itself winds up dropping, because I think Rotten Tomatoes changed their audience score where now you have to prove that you've actually seen the movie before getting the opportunity to vote. You can't just bomb, the Rotten Tomatoes score any longer like you certainly used to. So Rotten Tomatoes coming through certified fresh for Wonder Woman 1984, one that I'm certainly really excited to see. I've heard great things about the film, some mixed reactions for some people, but always really leaning towards the good side of things. So I do think that people will be pleasantly surprised with what they certainly see here from Wonder Woman 1984. So those will in fact do it for our honorable mentions today, ladies and gentlemen. Who else wound up joining us here today? We got Shout On Over Productions certainly coming through. Appreciate you coming through, man. Edward Sanchez, what's up, man? Thank you very much, man, for stopping by today. I hope everybody's weekend is hopefully ending on a good note. I don't know if any of you guys are into fantasy football or not, but for me, at least in my league, it is in fact fantasy football championship week. So I got a lot on the line, guys, a lot on the line. Hopefully I can defend my championship. I am in the playoffs, but to say the least, this week has started off kind of rough. It started off kind of rough with Thursday and Saturday games. So wish me luck, guys, and keep your fingers crossed for sure. But just before we get into the main topics, guys, I do want to let you guys know again, we do have ourselves a Patreon account now. If you are a subscriber or just a viewer of our channel and you want to go ahead and further support our page, you definitely can go ahead and do so. Patreon.com/A+opinions, guys. We've got great early exclusives and early access for you guys as well. So for both A+ Hero Report and A+ More Phenomenal. So if you are in fact interested, we're looking to go ahead and continue to bring you guys more content, up our production value, and the only way for us to be able to do that is with your continued support, guys. So thank you very much for that. But definitely go ahead and check us out if you can on our Patreon account whenever you get a chance. We certainly would appreciate any support that you guys definitely have. But guys, with that out of the way, let's start going ahead and dive into our very first topic, shall we? So when it comes to our first topic today, kind of going back a little bit to Wonder Woman 1984, Chris Pine is set to go ahead and make his return in that movie as Stephen Trevor. But it does continue to seem that Chris Pine is continuing to get work elsewhere as well, as he continues to team up with Paramount as well as Entertainment One to be officially cast and a part of a brand new Dungeons and Dragons film, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. This actually comes to us from Deadline.com, letting us know that Chris Pine is in talks to star in Dungeons and Dragons for eOne and Paramount. We're also going to have Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly set to go ahead and direct. So it says Chris Pine is negotiating a deal to star in Dungeons and Dragons, the live action film based on Hasbro's massively popular role-playing game from Wizards of the Coast. Hasbro Hasbro and eOne, and along with Paramount, are jointly producing and financing, with eOne distributing in the UK and Canada, and while Paramount will distribute to the rest of the world. It does say Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly will direct a script that they've both written together. And it looks as though they have had some success in the past. They were hired right off of their dark comedy Game Night, which I found pretty amusing, honestly, and Spider-Man Homecoming, which I thought was a pretty solid script. Now, don't get me wrong; these two guys have done some trash in the past. I mean, I think they did the reboots or the sequel to Vacation, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that which was an absolutely terrible movie. And I'm sure I believe they did a couple of other ones off the top of my head that I can't think of as of right now. So, I'm definitely a little bit on the fence. I do feel as though, if anything, Goldstein and Daly are probably at the coming off of some really great quality stuff that they've been able to do in Game Night and Spider-Man Homecoming. So part of me is hoping that they keep that momentum and are able to go ahead and tell a pretty good story here with Chris Pine for Dungeons and Dragons. I honestly think Chris Pine's a fantastic actor. There's a Disney film that I watched him in a couple of years back where I believe he was like a Coast Guard or something like that. It was like a period piece of him back in the day, him being a Coast Guard, having to go out and save like a ship that wound up wrecking, or was like stuck out in the middle of a terrifying storm and sea. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but he was marvelous in it, to be honest with you. So I've loved what he was able to do in Wonder Woman, his chemistry with Gal Gadot. So the idea of Chris Pine being the head of a Dungeons and Dragons, a franchise that Hasbro is really quite fond of, one that's still extremely popular to this day. Like Joe Manganiello, who plays Deathstroke. Like, I think he's a big sort of D&D guy, also really big into the sort of role-playing tabletop games and stuff. Dungeons and Dragons and those type of games weren't really under something that I personally got into, but I was always fascinated by that kind of world of knights and magic and dragons and things like that. That really has always fascinated me. So, you bringing somebody in like a Chris Pine, they've got some solid writers on board, really coming off of some quality stuff that they've been able to do. Yes, sign me up, man. I'll definitely take this. We have done a Dungeons and Dragons movie before. I believe it was maybe 2000 or 2001. It wind up dropping. It had Marlon Wayans in it. It had Jeremy Irons, a fantastic actor. And I think maybe even back, I think because of the fact that it took place back in the early 2000s, I think the actor's name was Justin Whalen or Wallen or something like that. One of those like late 90s heartthrob kids, that you thought would just go on to become this next big Hollywood thing. I believe he actually starred in Dungeons and Dragons also. So to say the least, we never got a sequel and pretty much forgotten about. I mean, to think about the fact that we had that movie back in 2000 and now 20 years later, we're getting ourselves another film, perhaps. Definitely just shows maybe the damage that film wind up doing to its future sort of cinematic fruitfulness, if you will. So yeah, out of existence for 20 years on the big screen, it's certainly set to go ahead and come back. So it's great to see Hasbro and eOne and Paramount really putting their creative minds together and seeing Hasbro utilize one of their huge IPs that they have in Dungeons and Dragons. They're clearly making some big strides because they also have Power Rangers in development also over at eOne as a film, and they're also doing their Transformers thing as well. I believe we just did an article about them a couple of weeks back, that they wind up actually having a new Transformer script ready to go. So yeah, Hasbro and eOne are certainly doing big things along with Paramount. So we'll see how it goes. But if you ask me, I personally do think that this is a great pickup here by this production company to get Chris Pine, because it never hurts to honestly get talent when it comes to putting a film together. So guys, listen though, at the end of the day, I definitely want to go ahead and know your guys' thoughts. Let me see real quick if I can bring up some information on Jonathan Goldstein, because I know that these two have actually worked together with each other in the past. So let me see what it shows that they've actually worked on together. Oh, see, Horrible Bosses. Although I wasn't the biggest fan of Horrible Bosses, I do know that plenty of people definitely did enjoy that movie for sure. I believe my girlfriend might have actually enjoyed the movie, so hopefully she didn't hear me say that. But as far as writing goes, let's see here. What has he written? He's got 30 credits. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons is up there. Vacation, Horrible Bosses 1 and 2. They also did the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. Doesn't look like they did the first one though also. But after some of those films, again, they wind up rebounding pretty successfully with Horrible Bosses, and then not Horrible Bosses, I'm sorry, Spider-Man Homecoming right after that. So definitely some experience under their belt. So we'll see how they handle something like a Dungeons and Dragons series film, to say the least. So definitely let me know your guys' thoughts in regards to that in the comment section box or the live chat below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that story, guys, we're going to go ahead and transition over. We're gonna go ahead and transition over to our next topic here. We'll switch up and move over to some DC talk. When it comes to DC, especially when it comes to Warner Brothers, guys, 2021 is going to mark a massive year. We just recently got announced that when it comes to HBO Max, we were going to be getting ourselves not only just original series and content for HBO Max, but that Warner Brothers was going to go ahead and release a ton of their 2021 film slate, not only in the theaters, but also on HBO Max as well. And so one of those films, though, that is really garnering a ton of attention that we know at least will be aiming itself for HBO Max originally is that of Zack Snyder's Justice League. That is, in fact, planning on dropping 2021. And a lot of people still have certain questions in regards to it. What exactly is it going to consist of? When is it actually going to be released? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we actually might have that answer for you guys already. So let's go ahead and dive into this article. This actually comes to us from Entertainment One, letting us know a couple things about this theatrical release here. Zack Snyder's Justice League might actually get itself a rated R theatrical release. There also is big words coming out of this article that Zack Snyder is also trying to add this to the list of films that are not only on HBO Max, but are also in theaters as well. So let's go ahead and dive into this Entertainment Weekly article, guys. It says Zack Snyder is looking to bring his highly anticipated director's cut of Justice League to the big screen, and his new footage would likely tip the 4-hour opus into an R rating. Here's one piece of information nobody knows. The movie is insane and so epic and is probably rated R. He says that's one thing I think will happen, that it will be an R-rated version for sure. We haven't heard from the MPAA, but that's my gut. He said, asked for details about what makes the new footage explicit. Snyder reveals there's one scene where Batman drops the F-bomb. Cyborg is not happy with what's going on in his life before he meets the Justice League, and he tends to speak his mind. And Steppenwolf is pretty much just hacking people in half. So the rating would be due to violence and profanity. Probably both. So it says probably an even bolder move is that the cussing Dark Knight is Snyder's push for Warner Brothers to release his recut and supersized HBO Max film on the big screen in 2021 at a time where the parent company Warner Media is trying to boost its streaming service with as much exclusive content as possible. To be clear, a decision on whether to release the film theatrically has yet to be made, and Warner Brothers has made no comment for this particular story, but Snyder has previously stated that adding a big screen rollout along with the HBO release in his preference is his preference, and now the director suggests steps are being taken in that direction. He says, I'm a huge fan and a big supporter of the cinematic experience, and we're already talking about Justice League playing theatrically at the same time it's coming to HBO Max. So weirdly, it's the reverse of the trend. So some fascinating stuff here. What we thought was just going to be a release on HBO Max has now turned into a $70 million investment that has included reshoots and maybe some minor additional photography. And now Zack Snyder is talking about the idea of this HBO Max a release, perhaps maybe eventually getting a theatrical release as well. Listen, a theatrical release, count me in, guys. I for a film that's supposed to be as epic and as big a scale as Justice League, there are certain films that definitely warrant to be seen in the big screen or IMAX. So if they want to put it on the big screen, I'm there for it. I'm there for it. How do I feel about an R rating theatrical release? You know, I don't mind, but I have a feeling, if anything, this might kind of ruffle some people's feathers. Also, you know what? Like when it comes to Zack Snyder's vision for his Warner Brothers or his DC world, he's kind of always pushed that sort of dark and gritty envelope, if you will. Maybe not something that people are so fond of, right? I don't know if people have just become so accustomed to how Marvel did their films in the past that kind of comparing what Marvel and DC did, maybe people weren't sure exactly how to kind of feel about it. When I think of DC films, I think of the term detective comics. That's what I've always have seen DC to represent for, not sunshines and rainbows and Skittles and beautiful happy endings. No, when I think of detective comics, I think of dark and gritty and maybe tackling some issues and topics that maybe are, a little bit more adult than some of the other films that Marvel might tackle, right? So when I think of an R rating, it doesn't surprise me that Zack Snyder wants to kind of push that envelope. I just don't know how well it would certainly do, though, or how well the reaction certainly might be. I mean, not to say that rated R could not work. We've seen rated R clearly work before, but we've also seen it fail for Warner Brothers in the sense of like Birds of Prey. And even though I certainly didn't mind the film, I definitely enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's the best DC film. There are clearly a lot of people that just could not connect with it. Now, whether or not that's because of the fact that it was an R rating, which I honestly don't even think Birds of Prey probably even maybe needed to be fully R. I'm not quite sure. But it is one of those things that can hinder the audience from seeing your vision. But for me, at least, somebody that's been wanting to see Zack Snyder's Justice League, listen, if you want to have Batman drop an F-bomb, if you want to showcase Cyborg going off the hinges through everything that he's been through in his life, bring it on, man. Like, I want to see Zack Snyder's vision, and if his vision is lending it to be an R rating, then more power to him. I will say this though. Based off of everything that I've seen and everything that I've heard that this movie could be, the idea of it being epic and huge and rated R, like I feel like if you were to tell that to an executive producer at a movie company or a studio, I feel like they might actually be kind of nervous. Like there is a part of me of wondering, like if Jeff Johns and I don't think it's Walter Hamada. I can't remember the gentleman's name that was in charge of Warner Brothers. I feel like if you had pitched this movie to any of them, I can honestly see why they probably would have been super nervous and maybe would have wanted to bring somebody in like a Josh Whedon to go ahead and kind of remake this. Like I could just see them freaking out about the type of vision that Zack Snyder certainly has, because it seems like it certainly is pretty bold compared to what we have seen from Josh Whedon. So when I go into this, man, I'm really expecting this to feel vastly different than what we wind up getting for Josh Whedon. This feels like a completely different film. Hell, it's starting to feel more like a completely different film from whatever Zack Snyder himself maybe said that he wind up having as part of his director's cut, right? He said he always had this cut kind of, I don't want to say fully ready to go. Clearly, they certainly had to work on it, but clearly 3 to 4 hours worth of footage. But with everything that he's been, I don't want to even say adding, but reshooting and the amount of money that's going into it, I wouldn't even be surprised if this feels even a little bit more different than what Zack Snyder originally had planned for his own sort of director's cut, but he's definitely embracing it. And, if Warner Brothers is willing to give him the opportunity and the money, let him have some fun with it and go ahead and actually put together a really solid and just well thought out film. And I'll be here to eat it up, honestly. Like, for me, Zack Snyder's vision of what he's been able to give us is something that I've personally enjoyed. I know not everybody certainly will, and that's certainly more than fine. But for me, at least, the reason why I personally want to see this has nothing to do with Josh Whedon hate or anything like that. It just has I'm just a really big believer in allowing a director to finish off his vision and put out his work to the world when there certainly is a big need for it, or at least a big desire to certainly see it from people. So let's see. Again, this definitely does not mean that just because it's rated R or 4 hours, or because of the fact that it's a Zack Snyder film, that it's going to be good, right? Like, it could still be trash. We could still see why they didn't want to put this movie out in theaters in the first place. But if you ask me, I do think that it'll be a solid film, and one that I'm definitely going to walk away kind of enjoying. So, Zack Snyder also did go on to say in another interview with Screen Rant, I believe he was on his Vero account, letting people know that they can expect the Justice League film to go ahead and drop in March. He actually commented, let me see if I can pull up the comment here, to his Twitter handle. Yeah, somebody reached out to him. Thiago Caselli reached out to him, and Zack Snyder said, "I understand and of course respect your feelings. I just hope I can wipe that Josh Whedon version out of existence in with what you see in March," is what Zack Snyder wind up saying. So it looks like he wind up kind of giving himself not a true release date, to say the least, but we at least have ourselves a month to definitely look forward to in 2021. If you ask me, that's a lot sooner than I honestly thought we were going to be getting this film. I honestly was expecting like summer, or even like late fall 2021. So the fact that we might get this Justice League cut here in March, bring it on, guys, bring it on. I think 2021 is turning out to be 2021 is definitely going to turn out to be something pretty special, guys. So we'll see what happens here. But listen, I want to know your guys' thoughts. The possibility of Justice League being rated R. Do you think that's a good move? Do you think it'll make the movie better, less popular? Do you think it matters? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. My thing is, like, as long as it feels like it's natural, then I'm perfectly okay with it. I just don't want it to certainly feel rushed or like pushed, if that makes any sense, right? Like when we heard, for those of you who have watched the Titan series, I remember when we saw the very first trailer for that, and we saw Robin come right out of the gates, and he's like, F Batman. People were like, F Batman? Did Robin just drop the F bomb? Like, it literally took people sort of out of the Titan series, and they were like, you know what? Nope, I'm done. Before I even see a scene, I'm not even going to check it out. So I'm hoping the idea of like Batman dropping an F-bomb doesn't deter people from checking this out. Batman would never curse. I really don't think that's the case. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce Wayne has cursed to poor Damian a couple times. Like, you little shit, get out of here. Put on your costume. Let's go. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce Wayne has dropped a couple F-bombs in his life. So I'm not even mad about that, to be honest with you, especially if it's coming from Ben Affleck. Yeah, give it to me. Give it to me, Zach. Give it to me, man. But guys, listen, at the end of the day, I definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts. Doesn't mean the movie's going to be great. We have seen some rated R films become quite successful and hinder its growth. So I'm kind of curious to know what you guys will think will certainly happen here. But definitely let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that wrapped up, let's go ahead and move on to our next DC title that we're going to be talking about, guys. Listen, I feel like ever since I was the young, ripe age of 11 years old, back when, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was first cast as Black Adam, and we waited all these years. Now I'm a full-grown adult and my 37 years old. We're finally getting this Black Adam film. Hopefully, it definitely seems as though things are finally coming together behind the scenes. But us fans, we've had to be rather patient for this Black Adam movie. So this better be film of the year by the time it drops, to be honest with you. As much time as you've had to work on this script and get in the cast, this better be movie of the year, better be in the Oscars nominated or something. But we are continuing development here. We had a DC fandom event earlier this year. They talked a little bit more about the progress that was certainly being made, the introduction to the JSA. And ever since then, we've been getting some tricklings of information in regards to what we can certainly expect from the upcoming Black Adam film. And casting certainly continues, ladies and gentlemen. They are continuing to build their Justice Society of America. We've gotten Atom Smasher already announced. We've gotten ourselves also, I believe it's Hawkman that wind up also being introduced. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to the other JSA member here in Cyclone. That's right. This comes to us from comingsoon.net, letting us know that Quintessa Swindell joins Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam as Cyclone. Great picture there by Alex Ross, a fantastic artist, if you guys ever get an opportunity to check out his work. But the article says, after months of rumors circulating that the character would make her cinematic debut in Dwayne Johnson's led DC Extended Universe outing, The Rock took to Twitter to confirm that Black Adam will include Cyclone and that Trinket star Quintessa Swindell will star in the role. And then this is actually his post that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson had. Ready to rumble. A pleasure to officially welcome Quintessa Swindell to our Black Adam cast. They'll be taking on the role of Cyclone. Can't wait for them. And we ready to rumble in the DC jungle. And then, of course, you've got production starts spring of 2021. I'll believe it when I see it, Rock. Once I actually start seeing production beginning, then I'll have better faith that this movie certainly is on the way. I'm actually not too familiar with the Cyclone character, but from what I read briefly, I heard that she was actually maybe like the granddaughter of the hero Red Tornado in the comic books. I believe her very first appearance was the classic Kingdom Come series that Alex Ross himself actually went ahead and did the artwork for. So I believe she is the granddaughter of Red Tornado, but I also believe they managed to bring her sort of into the modern era of DC comic books as well. So Cyclone definitely has a pretty interesting history when it comes to DC comic books. So it should be interesting to see how they pull this off here. It says, let's see here. It says, in addition to Swindell's Cyclone, the film will also include Noah Centineo, who's going to be playing Atom Smasher, and Aldous Hodge, who's going to be playing Hawkman as well. You also have Dr. Fate, who's also slated to appear in the film, though an actor has yet to be officially cast in that role. So that wouldn't be surprising to me if they eventually go ahead and eventually bring Dr. Fate on board. Like, it wouldn't be surprising to me if, like, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we actually do get ourselves a Dr. Fate announcement. But it also says, during its appearance in last month's DC fandom event, it was revealed that the film will feature the appearance of Hawkman, Dr. Fate, and Cyclone to set up the Justice Society of America, while also bringing word that Hawkgirl would have to remain absent for the time being. You know, I will say this, when it comes to this particular film, I am interested to see how they're going to make this work. Like, for me, as much as I honestly want to see Black Adam, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I really want to see the Justice Society of America actually brought to the big screen in live action form. There is something really spectacular about growing that history and that lore, right? Sort of that world building. I wouldn't be surprised if this is, I don't know if this is like a period piece, if it's taking place sort of back in like the 30s or the 40s or wherever the case may be. I'm trying to remember what the DC fandom panel wind up talking about, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is a period piece. I'm kind of hoping that it is. Maybe that's something that winds up taking place back in the past. But I really would love to see just how the JSA is formed, how they are they already a team that's kind of put together? Is this the reason why they come together to try and bring down somebody like a Black Adam? You know, I've always seen Black Adam sort of as this. I've personally have always seen him sort of as the villain of things, but I feel like over the years they've definitely have turned a more sort of anti-hero. So I'm thinking, I'm kind of curious if the JSA here is going to kind of be sort of the villains for this Black Adam movie also. But I'm excited. I think they've got some really interesting choices of Justice Society members that they want to introduce us to. Like there are a couple others. Like I would love to see an Alan Scott in here, like an original, an original Green Lantern. I would love the opportunity also to see maybe Wildcat in here too. I just don't know if we would get to see some of those particular members. So there are definitely plenty of JSA members I would love to see, but an interesting choice to say the least. And I'm not too familiar with Quintessa Swindell. They did say that she was on the show was it Trickster or Trinkster or something like that? Let me see what it said. Trinkets, the Trinket Star. If you guys have had the opportunity to see Quintessa Swindell in anything, I would be really fascinated to know what your guys' thoughts are and how you think she's certainly going to go ahead and do in this role. But again, I'm just super excited at the fact that the JSA is even getting this opportunity to kind of shine in the Black Adam movie. And I really want to see how this kind of all plays out with Black Adam, Shazam, even references of maybe Henry Cavill, right? Like I would love the opportunity to see Henry Cavill as Superman just duking it out with The Rock as Black Adam. I think that would be a fantastic kind of showdown for those two to have on the big screen. So guys, listen, I want to know your thoughts. You see what DC and Warner Brothers are doing behind the scene, continuing this world building, bringing in these additional characters for Black Adam. I definitely do think this is going to be a pretty impressive showdown, to certainly say the least. But guys, listen, at the end of the day, I definitely want to know your thoughts in regards to this. What's your excitement level for Black Adam and the addition to Justice Society? I'm crossing my fingers here that we do get ourselves a Dr. Fate announcement here within the next couple of weeks, guys. So let's keep our fingers crossed and see what happens here. But, again, it's one of those things where when it comes to this film for Black Adam, you've been telling me for ages that you're going to be putting this into production. So I'll believe it when I see it. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we have some additional information that drops for us soon. But guys, let me see what you guys are saying. Who else is in our live chat with us? Take a little bit of a break before we get back into the main topics. Let's see here. Marvin, what's up, Marvin? Appreciate you coming through. He says, I'm excited for Wonder Woman 84, but I'm not going to throw Justice League into that mix of excitement yet. Maybe it's the trailer that plays the same song from Zack Snyder's previous epic movie Watchmen and that sex scene between Night Owl and Silk Spectre. Yeah, I definitely understand what you mean there. That gives it a boring feeling to it, like an opera almost. Yeah, I think that's maybe part of his plan, that opera feeling to it, because it is just this really big sort of epic event, if you will. I do think when it comes to operas and epicness, I do think that they kind of go sort of hand in hand. But I definitely get what you're saying, Marvin. Like, I don't know if that was, like, for me, I don't necessarily know if that was my first choice of a music selection, right? Because when I saw it, I thought to myself too, didn't he just play that for his Watchmen trailer? Like, and as much as I love the Watchmen movie also personally, this is a different movie, man. Like, let's switch up the vibe a little bit, right? So first presentation, while I certainly didn't mind it because I got to see some amazing sort of brand new footage and stuff to get me personally excited, I can definitely see what you mean there, Marvin, by the maybe the choice of song and things like that, bringing back some memories of Watchmen for you. Maybe the next upcoming trailer, because again, I do think that was just sort of like their teaser trailer. I wouldn't be surprised if Zack Snyder does have sort of an official trailer that they wind up releasing to kind of give us even further glimpse into what this movie is certainly going to be about, especially if it's meant to feel different or feel like it is in fact a different movie. So I would expect them to come out with another trailer as we get closer to certainly March to go ahead and kind of build that excitement. But trust me, Marvin, when I say I definitely understand what you mean, that you're not, that excitement's not quite there yet. I definitely would love to see more from it as well. But regardless, it's Zack Snyder, so I'm gonna eat it up. But I will always be honest as to whether or not it's a good film. Just because I like some of Zack Snyder's stuff doesn't mean like I'm oblivious to giving an honest opinion about something. Let's see here. Dino Knights, yeah, he says, is Adam by himself today for a hero report? Yeah, I know Stuart had some stuff he had to go ahead and take care of. I know Indy was trying to maybe get in on here like on his lunch break, but I'd rather just be able to have everybody available, you know what I mean, to kind of devote all their time to it, not just parts of the day, if you will. And so I just said, you know what, it's the last episode of the year. Let me go ahead and round this out, and then everybody will come back for the new year. January 2nd will be our next episode. So I'm just sitting here sipping on my coffee this Sunday morning, getting ready for my fantasy football to start here at 12 o'clock. I got an uphill battle to certainly climb. I prayed to baby Jesus yesterday, 1-month-old baby Jesus, still in his baby diapers, maybe he's hanging out in his Star Wars onesie with Luke Skywalker on the front, because I'm a nerd and I want my baby Jesus to be a nerd too. So I definitely did a prayer to baby Jesus to help me out with some fantasy football today. But yes, man, it's just me riding solo. So I hope you guys don't mind here. Let me sip on this coffee here. Interesting. Dino Knight says, I watched Jason Momoa's new movie on Netflix. There's a scene echoing him as Aquaman. I'm kind of curious what scene that is. I didn't even know he had a new movie on Netflix, to be honest with you, but I'm probably going to have to go ahead and check it out. I do, I've loved Jason Momoa ever since Stargate Atlantis. My mom loves her some Jason Momoa. She loves her some Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but like what any woman wouldn't, right? I mean, I think my mom just has a love for these these Islanders, man. She loves the wet long hair type of look, the tattoos, you know what I'm saying? But no, I love Jason Momoa, man. I think he's fabulous. Love seeing how his star has risen over the years, like the guy, he knows his lane, he knows what really works for him as far as acting wise goes, and hopefully we'll see him continue to grow as an actor even more. But yeah, man, Jason Momoa, if he's in something, I will at least certainly check it out for sure. So thank you very much for bringing that back. All right, guys, let's go ahead and continue along here with some of our topics for the day. We're going to go ahead and transition a little bit outside of DC for a while here and go a little bit old school. I feel like we're bringing, I want to say, retro vibes here, but a show that I used to love growing up as a kid, or at least I should say, a group of shows that I used to love growing up as a kid was TGIF. For those of you who are around my age or can remember those times of Thank God It's Friday, ABC every Friday night. It was like the best time of the week for television back then. You have yourself like a good sort of 2-hour slate of just great sort of sitcom related television shows. Family Matters was on there. Step by Step. I can't remember if Full House was on TGIF or not, but Boy Meets World, I believe, might have even been on there at some point in time. And the lineup would certainly change, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe this classic show Dinosaurs might have been on TGIF from time to time. If not, it definitely held a close spot for me, remembering it back in the day of watching ABC and watching this show on television. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Dinosaurs, let me introduce you, ladies and gentlemen. This actually comes to us from Collider.com. It was a Jim Henson show. It says exclusive Jim Henson's Dinosaurs coming to Disney Plus in January. It says Dinosaurs premiered on HBO, premiered on ABC on April 26, 1991. So I was 9 years old then, maybe. Originally conceived by Jim Henson, who died less than a year before the show premiered. Terrible. I really wish he got the opportunity to see this. He says it was a revised version of an epic, a fantasy epic filled with dinosaurs that he wanted to make in the vein of The Dark Crystal. It says Dinosaurs maintained the trappings of a traditional television sitcom while being wholly original and unlike anything you've ever seen, which is why it's so exciting that Dinosaurs, a series about the end of the entire species that was decidedly ahead of its time, will be coming to Disney Plus in its entirety on January 29th. To celebrate the announcement, they also chatted with executive producer Brian Henson about what what it was like producing the show in the first place and why now is the perfect time to revisit this staple. So apparently he also says that it used to actually be on Hulu, but they think the move of moving it over from Hulu to Disney Plus will actually go ahead and bring about more viewers, guys. I loved the show growing up as a kid, honestly. The humor was always there. The fact that they were able to make this practical suits, I don't know if they had. I had to have think some animatronics involved in like the masks and the mouth moving. I would love to just see a behind the scenes on how they kind of put this entire show together, because it is one of those things like now when you think of like say Disney and Star Wars and some of the leaps in technology that Star Wars is doing with their sort of practical and practical effects and makeup and costume designs and things like that, right? It almost feels like those are in the vein of what they were attempting to do back in 1991, sort of with this this dinosaur series, by just how ahead of its time it definitely was. I mean, from its humor to the sitcom vibes with the laugh. I don't remember if they had laugh track or not, but I was just always impressed with the production and how they were able to go ahead and pull this off. I mean, the characters were always so hilarious. Baby hitting the dad over the head with the pot all the time, not the mama or whatever it was, whatever it was saying back in the day. I mean, just some classic stuff, man, that I honestly loved. They do talk a little bit about the idea of putting that together. They even make reference, again, not to try and get political or anything like that, but they do ask the question, so many of the themes of Dinosaurs, whether it's fake news or climate crisis, feel very now. And now people can kind of draw comparisons. Are you excited about that aspect? And he goes on to say, he says, yes, there's even a fan video on YouTube that is Richfield versus Donald Trump. I kid you not. He says for 2 minutes, this fan found Richfield saying something and then Trump saying the exact same thing. So, and I honestly, it's been years since I've actually watched this series. So I always forgot about the main character's boss in BP Richfield, this gigantic sort of dinosaur who would like sit in his trailer, and anytime he would get mad, like he would just stand up at his desk, and he was so big for his trailer that he would like his horns would like go through the roof, and he would just have like this this personally built sort of sunroof that he made just because of the countless times he would get mad and like just stand up at his desk and like just crush his roof. But I honestly forgot just what his personality was like. And guys, if you just want to laugh, please check out this video, the Richfield versus Trump. The comparisons are unlike anything that I've ever seen. Unbelievable, honestly. So it is funny to me just how a show that was back in the 1990s can somehow find relevancy in sort of this modern world that we're kind of in. The idea of battling against fake news, climate crisis, right? Things, well, climate crisis, at least things that are important to dinosaurs back in the day, just things that you wouldn't find humor in or wouldn't think you would find humor in. They managed to do so beautifully well when it comes to the Dinosaurs series. So again, guys, January 29th, Dinosaurs will in fact be premiering on Disney Plus. And to be honest with you, I really just cannot wait. I really cannot wait. This is a blast from the past. It's one of those things like, guys, I feel like every week on here we're talking about a show back from like the 80s or the 90s that is getting some type of reboot or being brought back into the forefront, right? Like DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Beavis and Butthead's been announced. Ren and Stimpy's been announced. Animaniacs is back, right? Like all these stuff that we used to love growing up as kids are kind of making a comeback, and a lot of them still having sort of relevancy today. The one thing that I will say, though, while they're not doing a reboot of the show, right? They're not doing a reboot of Dinosaurs. They're at least just sort of bringing it over from Hulu to Disney Plus. But trust me when I say bringing it to Disney Plus, I think will definitely bring more eyes and attention to it. But I do think that Disney Plus is actually probably the perfect home for dinosaurs. But I will say this: as much as we're rebooting things that we loved as a kid back in the 80s and 90s, the times are vastly different, guys. The times are vastly different. The jokes that landed very well back then, probably not so much. Not because they're funny, but because people are just overly sensitive these days. And I think people just maybe can't handle a lot of the humor like we used to back in the 80s and the 90s for some of these sitcoms and early shows and things like that. So, like, I'm seeing pushback for Animaniacs already, which Animaniacs has not changed. I feel like even back when it was on Fox, they always pushed their boundaries with their jokes. It's almost like people all of a sudden forgot what Animaniacs were like, or maybe they had never been introduced to them and this was their first time exploring it. And maybe we just have thicker skin from growing up in the 80s and 90s than we do now. But I do find it interesting that a lot of these shows are kind of being brought back, rebooted, or at least highlighted for today's day and age. So listen, if people want to jump on board to things that I grew up on, the more the merrier, man. I think you guys will be really pleased to just see how well I grew up and all the great stuff I grew up on. But you guys check it out. If you have not watched Dinosaurs, please, I beg of you, at least give a couple of episodes a shot once it drops on Disney Plus, if you certainly do have Disney Plus, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, definitely go ahead and let me know. But listen, I want to know your thoughts. I'm really pumped for this. I thought this was a really fun topic to go ahead and bring up and kind of break up all the other topics we had today. But I think this is a great move. But at the end of the day, I want to know your guys' thoughts. Have you seen Dinosaurs? And if so, what did you think? If not, will you check it out? And do you think that this is a good move for Disney Plus? So go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. Edward Sanchez, not the mama. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, absolutely great stuff, man. Jim Henson and what he was able to create, just his creative mind. I mean, just the list of 80s movies and franchises that he kind of helped build and help, put forth, his work on Star Wars with the Yoda puppet. They just mentioned the idea of the Dark Crystal stuff. Plus, trust me, there's plenty of stuff that Jim Henson touched over those years. The Muppets. I'm sure he had influence in Sesame Street to some capacity. Like, it's incredible what Jim Henson really just kind of brought to this world, and we're really truly seeing it still affecting us sort of to this day. So a shame that he didn't get the opportunity to actually see that show actually come to fruition. I think he would have been really, really pleased, honestly. But guys, let's go ahead and jump into the next topic. We're going to go ahead and transition over to some Marvel talk for a little bit here. But the next topic I want to talk about has a lot to do with Marvel television, ladies and gentlemen. And no, I don't mean Disney Plus's MCU Marvel television. No, I'm talking about original Marvel TV. A couple of years ago, we did hear that Marvel and Disney were sort of course correcting and changing directions, if you will, hiring Kevin Feige to not only be in charge of movies on the Marvel Studios side now, but also really being the go-to guy for its television side of things, along with its comic book publishing side of things. And ever since that announcement of Kevin Feige taking over, hey, listen, I understand. In Kevin Feige, we trust. I'm totally on board with that. But ever since we wind up getting that announcement, guys, a lot of our Marvel television shows that we knew that were on regular television or other channels have really met their demise. The Gifted, which was on Fox, pretty stellar show, if you ask me. The Runaways, another stellar show, if you ask me, canceled. Cloak and Dagger, not bad, solid. I enjoyed the first 2 seasons, the only 2 seasons I think we wind up getting of it, unless we got 3 seasons. I can't remember. Cloak and Dagger, a solid show, off the air. What else do we have? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., long time running show, off the air. There were other couple projects that I believe they had in the running. I believe they were talking about maybe doing like a New Warrior show. There was talk of Ghost Rider, if you guys remember. Hell, there was even talk of Helstrom, if you guys recall, right? All these series, with the exception of one, got an axe. And the one that survived out of all of them was, in fact, Helstrom. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that didn't last either. And I don't think we were certainly expecting it to last, but it definitely has not lasted. This comes to us from Variety. Helstrom canceled at Hulu after one season, ending Jeff Loeb's era of live action Marvel television. And again, this doesn't come as a surprise. They did, in fact, inform us a while ago that all these shows were being canceled. But I guess because of the fact that maybe they were already in production for Helstrom, they decided, listen, you're going to get your one season and you're going to end it all. So at least they knew going into this season that perhaps it was going to be coming to an end. So it says Marvel series Helstrom has been canceled at Hulu after one season, Variety has learned. The move to cancel the series was not a surprising one, as Helstrom was the last live-action show produced by the now-defunct Marvel television unit under Jeff Loeb. The writing may have also been on the wall due to the fact that the marketing materials for Helstrom, including its trailer and key art, did not include the word Marvel, despite being based on Marvel's comic book character. It says the show's cancellation served as a muted end to Loeb's live action efforts at Marvel, which at one time included 6 shows on Netflix, as well as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Legion, I forgot that one, Cloak and Dagger, Gifted, and Runaways. All of those have been either canceled or wrapped up their runs in the past 2 years. But it does say Loeb is not completely out of the Marvel picture as of yet. However, there are 2 animated series still coming. MODOK, which we saw, we've brought up some pictures before from Entertainment Weekly. It's supposed to be like a stop motion, if I'm not mistaken, type of animated show. Kind of like, think of like Robot Chicken, I believe. So MODOK is coming, and Hit Monkey, on which Loeb is an executive producer, are both still in the works at Hulu, though they were originally supposed to be a part of a 4-series Marvel crossover event that has sort of since been scrapped. Helstrom was originally ordered to series in May, alongside with the live-action Ghost Rider starring Gabriel Luna, but that was also scrapped as well, guys. So Helstrom, outside of the animated series that we have, tends to be really our last sort of hurrah into the Marvel live action television side of things, outside of its Disney Plus MCU television shows. First off, major bummer that Gabriel Luna missed out on this opportunity. Whether or not that means Kevin Feige maybe has bigger plans for the Ghost Rider character, maybe they have bigger plans for Gabriel Luna, who certainly knows, but I think that would have been a really fantastic role for Gabriel Luna, honestly, to play. He got some shine in the Terminator film that just recently dropped, but you got to think that being helmed by something like Marvel for a Ghost Rider series, I think after the well-received reception that he got from his time on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I thought was a marvelous move. So it definitely left me scratching my head when they decided to go ahead and actually cancel a lot of these shows. I personally have not had the opportunity to sit down and watch Helstrom, so I'm not quite sure exactly how good or bad the series is, honestly. I definitely get Swamp Thing vibes with just how the production kind of ended for the show. Although for Swamp Thing, I think that was more budgetary. But Swamp Thing season 1 was spectacular. I think we only have 1 episode left to drop this week, if I'm not mistaken, for Swamp Thing. But a great season, to say the least. So I haven't had the opportunity to check out Helstrom to see how good or bad it is. But this does bum me out, to be honest with you. I love the fact that the Variety article does point out that Marvel didn't even want to attach its name to it. I think we brought this up on A Plus Hero Report once, that it did leave me scratching my head that, guys, I understand the fact that you want to separate yourself, but do we gotta go that far to pull? Like, are you that ashamed of what Jeff Loeb is creating that you just don't want to attach yourself to it? And to me, it's not even a thing of confusing people, because, guys, we've been having Marvel television shows on TV forever, and people know that those shows aren't connected to the overall MCU. So it's not even a case of being confusing the general public. When I watched Cloak and Dagger and saw Marvel attached to it, I didn't think, oh, they must be in the MCU. I didn't think the same thing for Runaways. I think people are smart enough to know that these are their own sort of individual things. So it felt very much more of an ashamed thing than it did the idea of wanting to confuse people. So look, I have said this before. I'm definitely going to give Kevin Feige the benefit of the doubt that he knows what he's doing going forward. For me personally, though, I feel like I'm just going to miss the charm of being able to explore other Marvel characters and maybe not the best production value. Like, there is something about seeing some of these cable television shows try and do their own superhero television show. Like, I like getting the opportunity to see what others creatives vision are going to be about B-level characters or C-level characters that we probably may not get the opportunity to see in the MCU, right? Like Cloak and Dagger. I think Cloak and Dagger was made perfectly for television. Now, granted, whether you thought the series was good or not, I honestly think like just a choice of characters to have their own TV series outside of the MCU, I think they did a really good job of selecting some of these characters and stories that they certainly wanted to tell. But now, am I not going to be able to get those stories because Kevin Feige doesn't have a story in mind for them yet, or because it doesn't connect to his overall vision? You know what I mean? So like, I feel like there is something that's missing now when it comes to Marvel television. Like, the one thing that I love about what DC has done is that they've managed to kind of not only do their movies, but also have television shows, whether that be on HBO Max or the CW. They're still telling their stories. And granted, it does benefit DC that they have always been able to tap into this multiverse thing. So you can kind of connect your TVs and movies, but not quite, right? You could just say, oh, they're all part of one multiverse, but they don't all sit within that same earth, if you will, right? So DC has a really great way of being able to explore that, being able to give us characters like a upcoming Naomi series or a Wonder Girl series, right? That we may not ever get a movie for or a big high quality sort of television series for, but it's okay to be able to give us something like that on the CW or ABC Family or Freeform, right? There is a charm about that. That I really love being able to see when it comes to my Marvel television shows. I like the idea of being able to have other directors and writers come out and handle some of these characters that we may never get the opportunity to see sort of on the big screen. I mean, who knows? Maybe Kevin Feige, once we open up this multiverse of madness from the Doctor Strange movie, who's to say that once it opens up the doors for things multiverse in Marvel, if they don't all put it back into its proper place by the end of the movie or after the end of the phase, who's to say that maybe Kevin Feige's plan isn't to eventually introduce us back to sort of that Marvel television side of things and still play it up how DC is, right? Like, hey, these may not necessarily be linked to the MCU, but they're all still connected under this multiverse sort of umbrella, if you will. I would be okay with that. But as of right now, that doesn't seem like that's what Kevin Feige's plan is, or the direction that this man is certainly going. It seems as though what Marvel is planning on doing, their television shows, now we're not giving any other television shows to anybody else, with the exception of maybe ABC. Maybe ABC. But I feel like any other big television shows, all straight to Disney Plus. I mean, streaming service is the future, they say, right? But again, I still think that you can have. I still think that you can do some amazing work on other programs, other channels, by still allowing some of these other Marvel characters to kind of shine and get their opportunity to be on the small screen. And there is an element that I like. Don't get me wrong, I love being able to see what Disney and Marvel can certainly do with a huge production, right? Like, I love the idea of knowing, hey, what I'm seeing on Disney Plus is all connected, right? You're giving me these limited series, 6 to 8 episodes, movies, if you will. That connect to the bigger overall picture. Hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But sometimes I think it's okay to have characters that have their own adventures on the outside of things, if you will. And I just think that I just think it's a shame that we're kind of muting um those other characters' opportunities, along truly with muting opportunities for other directors and writers to be able to get their hands on some of these characters and tell their visions and their stories that they have for them. And there's a fun element behind that, instead of it all just being, I don't know, I don't want to say controlled by one individual saying, no, you can't write this because I want to use them later in this, or that doesn't have, you can't do that because that's not connected or doesn't have anything to do with this overall sort of experiment that we're kind of putting into play. I mean, it's definitely going to work out for Disney Plus in the long run, right? I mean, that's really what their aim truly is. So I get it, but it doesn't mean that I can't be disappointed, if you know what I mean, or kind of wishing for a little bit more, because I just think it's a missed opportunity for some of these characters that we may now never get the opportunity to see, or maybe 5 or 6, 7 years down the road, now we'll eventually get them, where maybe on Freeform or on Hulu, an original Hulu series of just another group of characters, I think would have just worked really, really well. So I just think this is a really sad ending to Marvel Television. Didn't always put out the best quality stuff, to say the least, right? Let's not even talk about Inhumans, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so they're not all home runs when it comes to Marvel Television. But I think that for me, that's always been kind of part of the charm, that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes you manage to find yourself with a gem on your hands, like The Gifted or Legion or Runaways and things like that, right? Like those type of hidden gems just aren't going to come to us anymore. Now I feel like we're going to be going into these series knowing that we're going to be getting high quality and super production, almost kind of taking out all the, I don't want to say taking out all the risk, because some of these series could still be trash, honestly, but just knowing that they have bigger plans for them, let you know that they're really going to be putting sort of their best foot forward. So for me, guys, I'm definitely going to miss just the regular Marvel Television. Those are just visions of characters that we're no longer going to be able to see again. And I just feel like everything going forward will just simply be one man's vision, kind of told through the eyes of other directors and other writers and things like that. And for me, that kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it. So, I'm here for you, Disney Plus. I am. I just think this is, I don't want to say selfish, but I just feel like this is an odd move to me, to eliminate any other opportunities to build characters outside of your MCU. I think this, I don't know. I don't know. But listen, guys, I want to know your thoughts at the end of the day. Helstrom has officially wrapped its first season. It is currently on Hulu, and that is the last of the live action Marvel television series that we're going to be getting outside of the MCU. So is this a sad day for you guys? Do you guys not mind? Are you ready for all Disney Plus shows? Or would you like to see other characters get that opportunity outside of the MCU? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to sip on this coffee, help my throat out a little bit, break things up as we go through some of these topics. You know what? I think we'll stay in the Marvel, not even a Marvel / Sony world for a little bit here with this next topic. One of the biggest movies of, what was it, 2018? Let me see something. Because I don't like giving you guys bad info. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm here to do, man. I'm trying to make sure I'm on top of my P's and Q's. and giving you guys the correct info that's out there right now. Yeah, released December 14th, 2018. You guys know what movie I'm talking about? Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which actually turned out to be definitely one of the biggest films of 2018. I'm trying to see the list of, I'm at its IMDb page. I'm trying to see if they have a list of the awards it's won one. Okay, here we go. It's won one Oscar. I believe that was for best animated. Yeah, best animated feature film in 2019 Oscars. It wound up winning. I was trying to see if it had anything in here for soundtrack, if it was nominated for anything soundtrack wise, because if there was anything for me that really stood out when it comes to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, it definitely was the soundtrack. I mean, just talk about being able to give you all different types of feels and really get you hyped for a Miles Morales version of Spider-Man. Really kind of set the tone for Miles, honestly. But this comes to us from from comingsoon.net. The musical composer Daniel Pemberton has confirmed to be returning into Into the Spider-Verse 2. It says Daniel Pemberton confirmed to return. It says the first Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was the perfect film from start to finish in every element. But one of the key elements to its success was the musical score from Daniel Pemberton. And now fans can keep their excitement high for the upcoming sequel, as the Golden Globe nominated composer has taken to Twitter to confirm his return. So there's a couple of shots of him and Phil and Lord Miller. It looks like chilling out in New York. It says, here's the third Spider-Verse. Here's the three Spider-Verse directing geniuses, Peter, Rodney, and Bob in Paris, and a rare self-post of me in front of a massive bus looking a little bit awkward. See you in 2022 for the next adventure, is what Daniel Pemberton wind up saying. So it does say that Joaquim dos Santos, the director of Voltron Legendary Defenders, which is a great series on Netflix, by the way, will direct the upcoming sequel. He's also being joined by screenwriter David Callahan, whose previous credits include Wonder Woman 1984 and Shang-Chi also. So, man, Sony's got some powerhouses attached to this. I mean, if you got executive producers and Phil and Lord Miller coming back, you've got the writer from Voltron Legendary Defender on board, or the director, I should say, which was an amazing animated vision from Voltron. So I'm definitely there. And you've got a guy who helped pen the script for Shang-Chi and Wonder Woman. Yeah, man, they're definitely onto something huge here, to say the least. So I'm really looking forward to this. I do think that this is going to be in great hands. And again, when it comes to just the music aspect of things, music is just so incredibly important when you talk about television along with movies. Like when we did our Mandalorian review this past Friday for its season finale, and one of the things that I talked about, I can never remember the composer's name for the Mandalorian, Ludwig something, if I'm not mistaken. But he does an amazing theme for Mando. But towards the end of the episode itself, and spoiler alert, guys, spoiler alert, if you haven't had the opportunity to see the Mandalorian, spoiler alert, at the very end, when we see Luke Skywalker wind up appearing, a part of me was kind of anticipating Luke Skywalker's theme music to accompany him. But what Ludwig was able to go ahead and do in creating a brand new theme, which I believe he titled A Friend, incredibly emotionally moving, an even better choice than just Luke's theme, which I honestly didn't even think was possible. But just for that particular moment, at least, the return of Luke accompanied by this rousing musical score just really gets you sort of emotionally invested. And for me, that's probably the most recent moment that I can think of how music definitely has affected me when I watch a movie or television series, but it's always impactful. If you take those soundtracks and that musical score away and just watch the film, you can clearly see how vastly different a movie certainly is. So for me, when it came to Into the Spider-Verse, to be able to have this musical score attached just really helped fill this Miles Morales world, from all the twists and turns, right from his discovery of his uncle as the Prowler, seeing, standing over his lifeless body of his uncle, having to see Miles overcome his own sort of awkwardness and insecurities, and finally embrace his own self sort of as a hero, right? Getting to see himself ready as Miles Morales, as Spider-Man, to go ahead and help everybody else at the end. I mean, just all throughout Into the Spider-Verse, the musical score was just so incredibly brilliant, and handled so well to really make you feel like this isn't just a Peter Parker adventure. This is exactly what a Miles Morales adventure is certainly going to all be about. And they definitely just left their stamp on this movie with their musical soundtrack. I mean, this movie was perfect almost in every way, from music to graphics to storyline to voice actors. I mean, they did a marvelous job. So to know that Daniel Pemberton, understanding his importance and the fact that Sony was smart enough to recognize that and bring him back on board, don't fix what's not broken, right? So if you had that much success Into the Spider-Verse, you got a ton of critical acclaim in regards to that movie. Bring these people back and allow them to continue to tell the story. And I think bringing somebody back like Daniel Pemberton is a great way for us to continue to have those same feels and those same vibes that we had from the very first one, and maybe even push that envelope a little bit further also. So I never underestimate a musical score or a great soundtrack to a television series or movies, ladies and gentlemen. So when I get giddy about talking about musical composers like Hans Zimmer and John Williams, and there's a bunch of other people I can wind up naming. It's just, I feel kind of nerdy, but it's that nerdiness about an aspect of film that I really just sort of enjoy, that really just heightens what I'm watching each and every time. So yeah, never sleep on a great musical score, ladies and gentlemen. Always certainly give them props for helping carry that film to maybe one of your greats. So I wouldn't be surprised if you have a great movie that if a great musical score is not attached to that also. Like, I would honestly be surprised. So guys, listen, at the end of the day though, I definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts here. You see that Daniel Pemberton, the musical composer, is returning for Into the Spider-Verse 2. Do you like the sound of that? Are you glad that he's coming back, continuing with that continuity and that Miles Morales vibe? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, guys, we have ourselves one last topic that we're going to be breaking down for you guys, and that's going to be in the world of Star Wars. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this real quick. Spoiler warning. If you have not watched The Mandalorian season finale, you might want to jump off it here for right now. Come back maybe in like 10-15 minutes. We're in the live viewer questions. But if you have not watched The Mandalorian, and you don't want to be spoiled, just giving you a heads up right now. All right. So I wanted to add this into our topics today, because you guys know I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And what better way to wrap up 2020 than to talk a little bit Star Wars here, especially a monumental moment as big as The Mandalorian season finale, titled A Friend, I believe is what it was titled, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe was that the title? No, I think it was called The Rescue. I can't remember. Anyway, regardless of the title of the episode, we did have ourselves a rather familiar face making their return, and that was in fact Mark Hamill, a de-aged Mark Hamill to say the least, making his return as Luke Skywalker. The incredibly epic return, also coming through like his daddy from Rogue One, ready to chop down some his enemies to go ahead and find him his new apprentice here. Just seeing this entrance from Luke Skywalker just gave me just all the type of chills and goosebumps that you could possibly imagine as a Star Wars fan, man. But it was a fantastic moment to certainly say the least, but a moment that was kept secret pretty well, to be honest with you. Like, I don't recall anybody on Twitter having known for a fact that Mark Hamill had plans on returning. There certainly were a lot of theories going around because of what we saw in The Mandalorian. The idea of what Jedi certainly was going to go ahead and actually pop up to go ahead and help out Grogu, or Baby Yoda for some of you, however you want to say his name at this point in time. One of my personal theories was I would love to see Luke Skywalker come back, maybe even Cal Kestis himself. Some people were saying maybe Mace Windu. But leave it up to those like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni to do the fans some justice and allow Mark Hamill to return as Luke Skywalker. But how did this all kind of come together? Well, this comes to us from Deadline.com. Mark Hamill reacts to the real triumph of the Mandalorian season finale's surprise appearance. It says Mark Hamill praised Disney's ability to keep a secret on Saturday when he reacted to the Mandalorian Season 2 finale. The sophomore finale for the Star Wars spin-off series sees the return of some beloved and major characters from the franchise. After journeying with the character, the child, joined Luke Skywalker and R2-D2 to train in the ways of the Jedi. This is what Mark Hamill says. He says, the fact that we were able to keep my involvement a secret for over a year with no leaks is nothing less than a miracle, a real triumph for spoiler haters everywhere. It says Hamill also added hashtags, hashtag loose lips sink starships and hashtag STFU. It says, while Hamill's iconic character made his Mandalorian debut, it wasn't the actor's first time appearing on the Disney Plus series. Back in June, the behind the scenes series, Disney's Gallery, The Mandalorian, revealed that Hamill had previously appeared in the Pedro Pascal show, though not as Skywalker. Oh, it says he had a secret cameo in the 5th episode of this series, lending his voice to a droid bartender in a scene at the Tatooine cantina. And then here's the actual Mark Hamill quote praising Disney for being able to keep this secret with no leaks for over a year. And yeah, I feel like in a time period, guys, where everybody wants to know information, right? Where everybody wants to know what's going on in a television show, it's really hard to keep things a secret. I mean, I feel like everybody else that was a part of this series, all that information came out, right? Like I believe we heard rumors that Tamora Morrison was going to be coming back. We heard rumors that Katie Sackhoff was going to be back. If you're a big wrestling fan, we heard Sasha Banks was going to be in this series too. So it was almost like, not that there wasn't any surprises, but a lot of reporters and stuff were able to kind of break news. And I don't even want to say that's spoilerish, because just in today's day and age, I feel like we have access to so much information these days. So to have almost Rosario Dawson also was rumored to be in here as Ahsoka, right? Like everybody that we saw appear, that was rumored to appear, really came into the season. So the fact that nobody was throwing out the term that Mark Hamill was going to be back to reprise his role is pretty impressive to me. Like I wonder how they kind of even filmed those scenes, because if you watch the episode itself, you've got Ming-Na Wen on set, you've got Giancarlo Esposito on set, you got Gina Carano on set, also Sasha Banks or Mercedes Renato on set. So there's like 4 or 5 people that were Pedro Pascal, right? Like you've got 4 or 5 people already on set when you've got this character in front of you that's supposed to be representing Luke Skywalker. So I clearly think that maybe they know, or I will say this. I am almost fascinated too. I wonder how they played that on set. Like, I wonder if the people that were on set knew that was supposed to be Luke Skywalker, or if maybe Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni were just like, this is a Jedi. You don't know who it is, but this is just a Jedi, right? Like, who's to say that they didn't add the color to his lightsaber in special effects afterwards, right? Who's to say that the person that people were, acting off of, maybe he wasn't full Luke Skywalker garb on, maybe they had no idea who they were talking to or acting against at that point in time. I have no idea, but if people did know that it was Luke Skywalker that they were filming opposite of, definitely kudos to that entire team, man, because I feel like nowadays it's so hard to keep your mouth closed or just telling one little person about what you saw on set while you were filming that day, especially something as epic as a returning Luke Skywalker. Like, I don't even know if I would have the if I'd be able to zip up my lips. I mean, I probably would, just because I feel like I'm trustworthy like that in that sense when it comes to holding on to other people's secrets. But I got to give Disney props, man, because for everybody else that was rumored and information that got out to confirm that they were going to be on this show, this was an appearance that I honestly was not expecting to see at all. And it was a very, very pleasant one. So for those of you who are wondering, though, how they pulled this off, understand that they literally just kind of deep faked. I don't even say deep faked Mark Hamill, but that's what it felt like. It felt like they either deep faked him or they just de-aged him, if you will, but they still had a stand-in body double. So what I really want to do right now, because this would not have been able to be pulled off without the body double. So I thought it would be interesting to go ahead and at least give some props to the man behind the de-aged Mark Hamill face. So here's who played Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian. Max Lloyd Jones has been seen in Switched at Birth, iZombie, and The Sandlot. So this is here's who played Luke Skywalker, ladies and gentlemen. It says, when Luke showed up on The Mandalorian, it certainly looked a lot like the Jedi we know and love, and we'd recognize Mark Hamill's voice a mile away. But the actual in-flesh actor was Max Lloyd Jones. Let us introduce you. Although the London-born thespian isn't a household name, he has a pretty solid resume, including Adventures in Babysitting, The Sandlot, iZombie, Switched at Birth, and Project Blue Book. And perhaps more interestingly, he's credited for the role of Blue Eyes, aka the chimpanzee in War of the Planet of the Apes. That's a pretty high-profile CGI-based role, so it makes sense as to why Lucasfilm might have turned to him to do some CGI acting for one of the most famous Jedis. It says, aside from the fact that Mark Hamill obviously can't play his younger self anymore, it's not out of the ordinary to have another actor step into the role. Yes, Hamill will always be known as Luke Skywalker, but like any popular character, others have stepped into the role over the years, depending on the medium that Luke is appearing in. So, ladies and gentlemen, what's his name? Max Lloyd Jones, the other Luke Skywalker, ladies and gentlemen, in case you guys were wondering who in fact played him. And it doesn't surprise me either. I mean, look, freaking Pedro Pascal half the time isn't even in his Mandalorian armor. So it does go a long way to understand that they definitely do have people that will stand in from time to time, having body doubles, and then when they certainly need them, they'll certainly pop in whenever they can. But it definitely looks as though The Mandalorian is certainly no stranger to using body doubles in its series. I will say this, while I was really impressed with the debut for Luke Skywalker to pop up in here out of nowhere, when it comes to the CGI face, I do believe it could have looked a little bit better. But again, that's not me complaining. I'm just criticizing it a little bit, just to say that I do feel that they probably could have put more work towards it. Like when I think of like Tarkin from Rogue One, Peter Cushing is certainly no longer around, so he is Tarkin's a full CGI sort of character, whereas in The Mandalorian, you do have a flesh and blood actor there. It's just the face that's kind of deep faked and de-aged, I guess you can say, on top of it. So I don't know if that's more work or a different type of process to kind of get the look right. But I was actually a little bit more impressed with Tarkin in Rogue One, and I wonder if that has anything to do with them adding maybe more production value to the series for that purpose. I'm not quite sure. um, or if it's a case that it is just a completely different sort of execution of CGI, right? And so maybe for Mando, it just necessarily didn't work the best. Like for me, I was kind of hoping that when Luke took it off, we would have somehow seen a deep fake of Sebastian Stan, or a mixture of the two between Sebastian Stan and a Mark Hamill. But no, they went with a complete sort of de-aged Mark Hamill. And I don't know if that was the best choice. But still great to see. His voice was definitely there, so I'll certainly eat it up. And for me, this was the one thing that I loved about this was the fact that this was our first time getting an opportunity to see Luke Skywalker sort of in his prime, right? We've always seen Luke Skywalker to that point of becoming a Jedi and rescuing his father, to now kind of being a Jedi Master, if you will. But from that point to The Last Jedi, where we kind of see him already out of his prime towards the very end of his time. And so this now being set 4 to 5 years after Return of the Jedi, this is really our first glimpse into the adventures of what Luke has been up to since him bringing down the Empire and the second Death Star, and having to, bury his father, or, burn his father at the pyre. So for me, I love the fact that we get a glimpse into this. And I don't know if this is how they're going to be treating Luke Skywalker going forward, as this legend, this myth that we don't see too much of, but that he pops in from time to time when you maybe sort of least expect it, right? This does make me also wonder the future of baby Grogu, now that he is teamed up with Luke Skywalker. Like, we were talking with my girlfriend the other day, and she was like, babe, does that mean that he might have died when Kylo Ren attacked the temple on in The Last Jedi and things like that? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm hoping Baby Yoda, like, I'm hoping Grogu survived during that manslaughter, right? Like, did he manage to get away? Was he already away from the temple even years prior to this, right? Who certainly knows? But I just love the fact that this continues to add to the lore of Luke Skywalker, and his training that we know that he certainly did in regards to trying to build a new Jedi council, if you will, or at least build the Jedi back up, if you will, giving them a new temple and a new place to kind of learn and have a teacher and stuff. So this is really sort of the first adventures of Luke Skywalker in his prime that we've getting the opportunity to kind of see him in. And so I'm here for it, man. Like, for me, Luke Skywalker is always such an incredible character. I've honestly have loved the way that he's been utilized in here. There's still that era of mystery behind him, if you will, right? The idea, like, there's literally a book out there. Let me see if I can Luke Skywalker novels. There's a book out there, if you guys are interested, called the Journey to the Last Jedi, but it's titled The Tales of Luke Skywalker, I believe. Let me see if I can let me pull this up. Oh, A Journey to the Last Jedi, The Legends of Luke Skywalker. And I thought this was a fascinating book, simply because of the fact that let me see if I can pull this up for you guys also, so you can see this book that I'm referencing. The one thing that I loved about this book, guys, the one thing that I loved about this book, because of the fact that it actually connects to The Last Jedi, one of the last scenes that we see in The Last Jedi is of the kid that was being held captive on that planet on was it Canto Bight, I believe it was the planet. The ranch kid that was playing with the action figures and stuff, right? And he's telling the story of Luke Skywalker and this legend, and I think he's taken down an AT-AT. I think he put together like just this little straw figure of Luke Skywalker, right? So and you see him like leave after telling the story, and the little kid looks off into the stars, and he sees a star, and then he uses the Force to pick up the broomstick kid. I always loved that scene because it always emphasized the idea of the legend behind Luke Skywalker, right? The myths that kind of surround him. You even hear in The Force Awakens Rey and Finn clearly having have heard the name Luke Skywalker before, but not truly knowing what he meant to the galaxy, just knowing some of the tales that they've heard of him, of being this hero and taking down the Empire and things like that, right? Well, I love this book because of the fact that it's further tales of Luke Skywalker, moments in people's lives and just ordinary people's lives or other things that have happened, whether they're soldiers or rebels, where sort of Luke Skywalker has kind of popped in and saved the day. And some moments where people recall seeing Luke Skywalker on the battlefield, or impactful moments that Luke Skywalker has kind of had on their lives. So it's a really great series, a really great book to go ahead and check out, because I do feel as though Luke Skywalker still to this day kind of holds that aura about him, right? Of still being a mystery, not too knowing too much about his prime or what he's done within that 30-year sort of time period. So I wouldn't have a problem if Disney decided to kind of utilize the character a little bit, kind of going that way. Like a part of me would love to see a Luke Skywalker series to kind of fill in some of those gaps. I don't know if Disney would ever pull the trigger on that. A part of me is crossing my fingers and hoping so. But another part of me kind of digs the idea of him still kind of being a mystery and popping up in times like this, just because of the fact that they've already kind of established that as Luke Skywalker's legacy, if you will. So I love seeing it. I love seeing it. Making sure that anytime Luke Skywalker is on scene, that on the screen, that it is as impactful as it's sort of ever been. And so for him to kind of come up at the end of The Mandalorian, have an epic moment like his father at the end of Rogue One, really getting the opportunity to see him in his prime, using moves that we've never seen Luke Skywalker use prior to his, the original, the Return of the Jedi type of thing, just really goes to show his growth for me. So I love what they've been able to do here. I'm so glad that Mark Hamill was able to keep this a secret, because it certainly was a fantastic surprise and just an incredible blessing. Because honestly, I feel like after the Mandalorian season finale, there's a real surge when it comes to Star Wars once again, where I feel like Disney has kind of brought faith back into a lot of the Star Wars fans, and hoping, like, I said this when we did our Mandalorian review episode, that it feels like the Mandalorian, the series as a whole, especially this finale, is like a apology letter to some of Star Wars fans. Like, hey, we know we messed up when it comes to the sequel trilogy. We didn't sit down and plan it out as well as we probably should have, but we're planning things out now. And when we plan things out now, this is some of the greatness that we wind up getting when we put all of our heads together. And when you have somebody like a Kathleen Kennedy, who hasn't been the best in regards to doing her job properly for Star Wars, where I still feel Kathleen Kennedy is a great executive producer. Maybe her strength just isn't as a president of like Lucasfilm, right? The fact that she was smart enough to go ahead and actually put together Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, I think is a brilliant move, knowing that these two certainly would work well together, and just seeing what these two minds have really created has really helped boost Lucasfilm back into the back into the arms of Star Wars fans, if you will, and letting us know that, hey, maybe Star Wars is in much better hands, certainly going forward. Now we've learned from our lessons, and this is what it's provided us. So I think this was a great thing for Star Wars fandom in general, to say the least. So glad that everybody was able to keep their mouth shut, keep this as a secret, and great to see Mark Hamill definitely return, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, if you've had the opportunity to see The Mandalorian, the season finale, what did you guys think of it? What jumped out at you? Definitely go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, guys, I think that will certainly go ahead and wrap it up for us here today in regards to all of our topics. But of course, as always, guys, we do have your live viewer questions that we're certainly going to go ahead and get into as we wrap up this episode. And then maybe we'll jump into the live chat for you guys as well. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. Let's see here. Go over to our A+ opinions. See if we got any questions here today. All right, a couple from Jessica Fryman and AJ. So, Jessica Fryman, her first question says, "Would you like to see Wonder Girl and Stargirl team up one day? And would you like to see Poison Ivy or Harley Quinn show up in Batwoman?" Ooh, I would be open to both of them popping up in Batwoman. Honestly, I feel like Harley Quinn is getting such great shine in a animated a series of herself. I feel like the bond between her and Poison Ivy has been pretty well received. I wouldn't mind seeing those two together in a Batwoman series at some point in time. So yeah, count me in on that. I would be open to that. Would you like to see Wonder Girl and Stargirl team up one day? Sure, why not? I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that they eventually plan on doing. I was really hoping for like a Stargirl and Supergirl crossover. I don't know if we're gonna get something along those lines. I wanted to see Stargirl and the Flash maybe even crossover. I don't know if we're gonna get that. But yeah, if it's why not? Let's go ahead and do it. I would definitely be open to see Wonder Girl and Stargirl. But I do think they wind up having a missed opportunity, unfortunately. Jessica Fryman also asks, would you like to see Teen Titans and Young Justice cross over one day? And is all the Arrowverse shows staying on Netflix or moving to HBO Max? I would expect them to move over to HBO Max if they haven't done so already. I know Batwoman is certainly up there. I can't remember if the other shows have already moved over there. They may already be over at HBO Max. I'm not quite sure, but I do know that Batwoman definitely is on HBO Max already, along with Titans. Like I think they've moved over at least some of the DC Universe shows are all over there now. Like the Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is over there. Stargirl is over there on HBO Max now also, if I'm not mistaken. Swamp Thing isn't over there as of yet. If anything, I probably would expect them to finish up Swamp Thing on CW first. Maybe it's probably got some sort of exclusive rights on CW's streaming for a little while before moving to HBO Max. Doom Patrol is over there. Titans is over there on HBO Max also. So yeah. As far as the Teen Titans and Young Justice crossover one day, I mean, I feel like we're kind of getting that in Titans already. I feel like Titans is probably like a live action version of uh Titans and Young Justice. It's just a huge collaboration there. But animated wise, no, probably not. I would I like to see one? I wouldn't mind seeing one. I just don't know if there is a place for one like if you were to tell me like the Young Justice animated show to have the animated team of Teen Titans pop up in there. I mean, have they done that before in the past? Maybe not. I don't know. I would be open to it. I just don't know how you would pull it off. But we'll see, Jessica. We'll see. Let's see here. AJ, he's got a couple questions also. Now that it's been nearly a year since Crisis on Infinite Earth crossover, what do you guys now think about the massive crossover? I will say this. I don't know if it's my favorite. I lean always more Crisis on Earth X and Elseworlds as my favorites. I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed its epicness. The first two parts of it did feel rather rushed to me, compared to the second half, which I felt like had a little bit more time to breathe. But I definitely felt like maybe the first two episodes, leading up to like the destruction and sort of leaving everybody on that astral plane or whatever plane of existence they were on. After that point, it felt a little bit more paced. But you have to understand, Crisis on Infinite Earths was such a huge story, right? Like there's so many huge elements involved in there that you can't even do Crisis into a 1-2 hour movie, I don't think. So I definitely think that Mark Guggenheim certainly did the best that he could with the material. I mean, he even had Marv Wolfman, the writer of Crisis on Infinite Earths, help him with the script and bring him in also. So he definitely surrounded himself with the right people. I'm not as critical of this series as some people were of the crossover. I still enjoyed it. Not my favorite of the crossovers, but it's still one that I definitely enjoyed. I just feel like it's a little bit of a bummer that after that, it's one of those things that after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, I really would have liked to have seen a lot of these characters stick around, but because it doesn't feel like it's as impactful anymore for me. Like now that I know that Melissa Benoist is leaving, Stephen Amell's not around, Black Lightning's being canceled. It almost feels like all the work that they put into building up this Arrowverse all these years, like the payoff, while it's certainly there for Crisis, I would personally have thought that maybe that would have just even helped really push them forward into the next phase, if you will, with still some of these characters that they've kind of established. But now that not a lot of these characters are leaving, it does feel very much like a reboot, of the Arrowverse, kind of starting off from scratch. I mean, maybe that's a good position for them to be in, because I mean, we are kind of starting off from scratch at the end of Crisis with the Earth Prime and a new setup for the multiverse, if you will. So it certainly would make sense if this is their time to go ahead and bring like a change, closing the book on one thing and opening the book, a new book and new chapter to the Arrowverse. So it kind of works, but I still feel like everybody leaving kind of takes away some of the impact of Crisis, because even Ruby Rose is gone, right? She's not even there. All these people that had connections sort of to that past world is now gone, and so yeah, it kind of makes, I feel like it almost takes away from the Crisis event, like it almost didn't do its job the right way, like it should have been successful and allow these people to keep their jobs and continue to help push the Arrowverse and build new characters. In the sense, it almost felt like, hey, we did Crisis, but now that we did Crisis, everybody's leaving. Ruby's gone, Melissa's gone, Cress Williams is gone, Stephen Amell is gone, and you're looking around like, is this what we did Crisis for, right? Was this supposed to be our end game? And I don't think that it was, at least not in the way that they were maybe hoping that they probably would have had. So yeah, it definitely has changed my perspective on Crisis. Not too badly, but it is definitely one that I felt has kind of taken away from the event. You also asked, what did you guys think of Superman Returns with Brandon Routh? I watched it Thursday night and I thought it was a solid movie, but very boring, not enough action. Well, listen, I definitely agree with you there, AJ. For me, I thought it was a solid film, a little bit on the boring side also for me. So it's a real struggle at times for it to keep my attention. But I do think that Bryan Singer did a pretty good job with Superman Returns based off of what his vision for the film was supposed to be, right? I mean, for me, I think just back in that time period, though, when they did Superman Returns, I feel like there was maybe a need or a craving from fans to want to see a more impactful Superman, to see a Superman that has more action involved, that will do more superhero things instead of just your mild-mannered reporter or your Boy Scout from the 60s. You know what I mean? I think when Superman Returns, people were maybe hoping that we would see something on that big of an epic scale. I mean, you were having Bryan Singer come in, who was just fresh off of his huge X-Men success, right? So you think to yourself, oh man, this guy who did X-Men, and I really enjoyed it. He modernized it, brought it to the big screen. He's got to have a great vision for what he wanted to do for Superman, right? And we wind up getting Superman Returns. But understand, that's definitely the movie that Bryan Singer wanted to make. His movie was meant to be a sequel to, I believe, either the first Richard Donner Superman or the second Superman. But he wanted to capture that Richard Donner vibe, right? So what Bryan Singer did probably didn't connect with a ton of people in the audience, but it was the film that he certainly wanted to make. So I can't say that he did a terrible job. You know, I certainly thought Bryan Singer did what he was certainly supposed to do. And I'll even say this, you know, that Superman movie still has one of my favorite Superman moments, and that's the airplane scene. That's the airplane scene. As much as I love all the action and all the cool stuff that we get the opportunity to see in Man of Steel, the big Metropolis fight and things like that, one of my favorite scenes is getting this opportunity to see Superman returning for the first time on a plane that's diving, getting set to crash, a fantastic musical score attached to it, to get the opportunity to see Superman just saving a bunch of human lives. Like, there is something really great about seeing Superman be heroic, you know, not sort of just beating the ass of the main villain, but being able to go out and just save lives in the most epic way imaginable. I didn't really see that so much in Superman and in Man of Steel. You know what I mean? Did he save people's lives in Metropolis? Yeah, he did, but he did so by beating that ass of Zod, right? It wasn't like saving a bullet train from flying off of its tracks or something, right? Like saving a majority of people. I love that aspect. Like, that's one aspect of Superman I've fallen in love with. So to see that Superman scene of him saving the plane, grabbing onto that nose, planting it down right in the middle, mind you, of a baseball field, I just thought it was just beautifully done and just epic on so many levels. Probably my favorite Superman scene. And then probably my second favorite Superman scene would be in Man of Steel, the Hans Zimmer musical score attached to seeing Clark fly for the very first time. That gives me chills and goosebumps every time. But Superman Returns definitely does hold one of my favorite moments in it. And I think Kevin Spacey probably did his best sort of Gene Hackman impression, kind of gave it a little bit of his own originality to it as well. So great casting choice. I think Brandon Routh, when you look at what Brandon Routh envisions, right, it's hard to still not see him as Superman. I just think really the casting of Superman has been so well done, guys, over the years, from George Reeves to Christopher Reeves to Brandon Routh to Henry Cavill. They do have a great way of being able to cast people that really just sort of embody what it means to be Superman. And, you know, to this day, Brandon Routh continues to portray that character, even when he's not in costume. And so does Henry Cavill. They both represent the cape extremely well. So I think, you know, and when people say Brandon Routh's my Superman, I can't complain with them, because I think he did a great job in Superman Returns, even though it's not like my favorite film of Superman's. I do find it relatively boring from time to time. There are some really great gems in that film, like the idea of him having a son and getting an opportunity to see how Superman would handle the revelation of that I have a son out in the world. You know, like there's some really great homages to Richard Donner that just work well. I just don't know if the timing was right for that film at the time. And so I do think that it winds up maybe getting more hate than it deserves. But make no mistake, Superman Returns was successful in the sense of it was the film it was meant to be. Just don't know if it was the film for that time. You know what I mean? So, but yes, solid movie, one that I definitely enjoy. And I know that certainly are some people out there for that were big fans of it also. AJ also says the news of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield reportedly returning for Tom Holland's Superman 3. How do you think their characters be handled? Plus, with Doc Ock and Electro coming back, but as a new version of them. Same with Toby and Drew. Would you like it if they have Tom Holland's Peter passing of the torch by the OG characters? Okay, like how I would like to see them handled. Well, I will say this, you know, we have yet to report this story on A Plus Hero Report, just because of the fact that a lot of the big tentpole websites like Variety, Deadline, I don't even know if Hollywood Reporter has officially confirmed that, or at least has tried to confirm that. So if anything, I will just hold that one on as a rumor. I feel like the the Doc Ock stuff for sure. Electro stuff for sure is probably coming through. And listen, when you tell me you have Alfred Molina coming back as Doc Ock, when you tell me Jamie Foxx is coming back as Electro, I find it hard to believe that Maguire and Andrew Garfield are not going to be in this movie. I just rather not say it's confirmed as of yet, because it's just not, right? Neither of them have come out and said anything. They have photos of Maguire going to a costume fitting, but nobody specifies what the costume fitting is for. Like, people are being super, super hush hush on this. So I rather not say anything in regards to it until one of the big, like the bigger sites kind of handle it. But trust me when I say I am leaning towards the idea that, yeah, it's so hard for me to not imagine that they're going to be in it. I think the key here, though, is trying to figure out maybe how big of a role are they going to be in this, right? Are they going to just have brief cameos to kind of help assist Tom Holland at the end to kind of, is this going to be 3 Spider-Men trying to take on Sinister Six, right? Is one Sinister Six maybe too much for just Tom Holland? Maybe he needs a whole squad of these Spider-Men that have past experiences to kind of come through. I want to say I'm even hearing rumors now of a returning Sandman and a potential maybe even returning Green Goblin also by William Dafoe. Again, these are additional rumors that I'm hearing, but I haven't really seen the big websites running with any of this. I mean, goodness, I've been seeing people talking about like other people from other movies reprising their role in Spider-Man 3. Like, people are just getting ridiculous with some of these announcements now. They're having a ton of fun with just how big and how many characters are popping up in here. But I don't know how they're going to be utilized. I still want this to be very much a Tom Holland movie. Doctor Strange is already supposed to be in this film also, right? Like, there's a lot of people in here. So you definitely don't want to take away from Tom Holland. So if anything, I'm not expecting them to have big cameos. Who's to say that they are even thrown into this world? Maybe it's Tom Holland that somehow manages to be able to communicate with the two of them and they give him details. I really don't know, but that's why we got CGI for, right? To go ahead and put some CGI Spider-Man on screen together so they can still do their flips and spins and shooting out their web slingers and stuff. So I really have no idea. But, for me, I would love to see all 3 of them fight against Sinister Six. If not, just give me maybe brief cameos of them maybe communicating at least with Tom Holland, maybe giving him some words of wisdom or some kind of advice. I really would like a moment where they all meet, though. Like, I definitely do need that to certainly happen. It just kind of, I've seen images of people talking about how they would like to see these 3 meet. People were referencing the post-credit scene and Into the Spider-Verse, where they had the animated like the old 1960s when they're like pointing at each other or something like that, like the Spider-Man 2099 and then the regular Spider-Man, they're just pointing at each other. I think they said they wanted to see Tom Holland, Andrew, and Tobey Maguire in that same animated form, kind of pointing at each other. So yeah, I would be open for something humorous like that. Like, I honestly wasn't expecting them to kind of even be back, honestly. I thought that this would be a move that maybe they would wait to do for Into the Spider-Verse 2. But the fact that this could potentially be happening in an actual live action movie, I think would be pretty brilliant. So regardless, I just want to see them. I don't really care how they're utilized. I just want to see them in this movie. And if there is anything I care about how it's being utilized, it's just the number of characters. I feel like some people maybe worry about the number of characters more than me. It doesn't really bother me, honestly. I've seen some movies handle well. For me, it's just depending on, can the director and the writer handle an ensemble cast? Can you handle a big group of people? And some people can't. Like, when I watch Titans, whoever the writer is and the showrunner clearly does not know how to handle a large group of characters. So, and I feel like they have no business in and handling that. But you look at somebody like a James Gunn, right, or a Russo's brothers, when they have a huge cast, they know how to give everybody the perfect amount of time, know how to tell a story properly, even with all these people. So it really is going to come down to I guess with John Watts, if he's directing Spider-Man 3 and whoever the writer is, can they handle all these characters? If they can do that, then we're probably going to be in pretty good hands. But this movie's going to be crazy, guys. This movie is definitely going to be crazy. And I'm here for it, man. So we'll see, guys. We'll see if we eventually get some news about Maguire along with Garfield. And once we actually have something more concrete for you guys, we certainly will let you know. But again, we find it hard to believe that these guys are not in this movie. So hopefully we'll get some information soon. But other than that, guys, I think that will do it in regards to all of our live viewer questions for the day. Let me just double check, though, that nothing was added on to Facebook. Okay, it definitely doesn't seem like it is. So awesome. All right, guys. So let's see. Let me jump into the comment section and see what some of you guys are saying in here. It's just an AJ. It's just a bunch of AJ questions. Dino Knight Fight for Your Rights coming from AJ. Going back to the Justice League thing, says 4 hours watching a movie is too long. I couldn't even get through Infinity War when it premiered in theaters. I got through it on Netflix. Yeah, listen, I feel like 4 hours definitely is the type of thing where it's like, I'm gonna need an intermission, guys. If you're gonna put 4 hours of a film out in theaters, can we please have an intermission? Because I'm not sitting there for 4 hours. I mean, granted, I did it with I almost did it with Return of the King, like 3+ hours, but still, even that was torturous at times. So if I can get, if they're gonna be creating Justice League into like 4 or 6 kind of episodes, on HBO Max, I'm hoping that they're including a cliffhanger somewhere in the middle of this. So, at that 2-hour mark, boom, you can hit us with that cliffhanger and then give us like a good 15 to 20-minute intermission so I can go ahead and get my drinks, go to the bathroom, get some snacks, and then come back after a nice little long stretch and then sit down. Because, when people say movies are too long, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through it. I just kind of make a comparison of, sometimes when you're at home and you sit down for long movies, right? Like, even if it's 2 hours or 3 hours, you pause the movie, you get up, you walk away, you come back, and you start it, and you continue on with it, right? There's no memory loss, no gap in forgetting what just happened, sort of thing, right? So I do think an intermission would probably work here. I just can't imagine somebody sitting down for 4 hours and just watching a movie straight through. I mean, I gotta think they probably do intermissions for those long ass Marvel marathons that they kind of have in the past. Also, maybe there's a brief breather in between when each film begins and starts. So I think they could probably do something like that just fine. If they're setting it up to be in the IMAX format too, which I'm expecting it to be, yeah, man, I'm definitely gonna go ahead and check it out in theaters first if I get that opportunity. Gabriel's in the house. What's up, Gabe? Appreciate you coming through. Hey, man, it's no problem, man. I'm just glad you're able to join us for the stream, to say the least. You also say, I was born 6 years too late for Dinosaurs, but my parents say that they used to watch it with my cousins and that it was a really funny show. Yeah, it always made me laugh, honestly. Again, I know it's again, I think I was like 9 years old when it first premiered, sort of thing, and it's still in my head. So I definitely would recommend it to anybody that wants to give it a watch. It's a great show. Let's see here. Dino Knight says, this might not make any sense, but do you think Wonder Woman 84 will be sold out on HBO, like not being able to access it on Christmas Day because of the servers? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so never sold out, but your question is the idea of will those servers be able to handle the capacity of people watching it all at once? Yeah, I believe so. I think that might be one of the reasons why HBO might actually, why they might rotate out some of their stuff. I'm wondering if it has a lot to do with their server size. Like, I'm wondering if they don't have the abilities as of yet to hold all these titles onto their server. Maybe that's why things come in and things go from time to time. But if it's on there, I do believe it should be more than fine. Like if people watch HBO Max, and I mean if people watch Disney and jump on the Mandalorian sort of all at once to watch an episode that day, and their stuff doesn't crash, then I'm not expecting HBO Max to crash either. So I think we should be fine. I think we should be fine. Gabriel says, Merry Christmas. Going to celebrate by watching some Christmas movies and binging some Doctor Who Christmas special. I'm glad you brought that up, Gabriel, because I've been wanting to go ahead and revisit Doctor Who. I haven't watched Doctor Who since the final season for Peter Capaldi, and I really want to get back into it. There's just been so much on TV that I just kind of fell off of it after all those years. From David Tennant to Matt Smith to Peter Capaldi, and I just eventually kind of fell off. But I am thinking about revisiting this series once again. A part of me would like to bring Doctor Who to A+ Hero Report, so I'm wondering if I might do a little bit of a maybe a watch along for Doctor Who, or maybe some reaction videos for Doctor Who going forward, and starting back from like 2005. Chris Eccleston, I believe his name was, when they came back with the Doctor Who series. So I may revisit it, but I think that's great that you're checking out the Christmas specials. And I think I thought they had a New Year Christmas special or New Year's Eve special this year. Maybe I'm wrong though. It's been a minute since I've kept up with it, Gabriel. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to know what some of your favorite Christmas movies are. Like, do you guys have Christmas films that are almost a go-to for you every year? For me, when it comes to Christmas movies, Elf is definitely up there. A Christmas Story, you'll poke your eye out, kid. Always love that. It's a Wonderful Life every once in a while. Not every Christmas I'll watch it, but it's a great one. Home Alone is another fantastic one. Also, people will put Die Hard on their list. I still don't know if I'm a believer in it being a Christmas movie or not. I think majority of people say it's not, but I think that's just this thing that people say, or want to say it enough to where it's actually in existence. You know what I'm saying? There's a couple ones. Jingle All the Way, I think, is a great one. Christmas with the Cranks. I think that is the Tim Allen one, I believe. There's so many great ones out there. Dino Knights says, do you think Superman and Lois will be political like Supergirl was? I know a lot of people did not like season 4 of Supergirl. Well, one, I don't think Supergirl was as political as people made it out to be. That particular season 4 of Supergirl, there's maybe like 2 or 3 episodes in there where I really felt that it was kind of in your face. But for the most part, I really felt that season kind of tried to be its own thing. So I don't think it was as political as people certainly made it out to be. But I do know that it hit some people a certain way. Do I think Superman and Lois is going to be as political? Probably, honestly. And the only reason why I say that is because of Lois. Lois definitely is not one to step away from an argument. She's definitely not somebody to back down from being pushed back. Lois has always been one of those characters very early on in comic book history that's always been a great representation. Someone that's literally, like your name says, fights for her rights. That fights for the truth. Can be annoying at times but is always gonna pick at you and until she kind of gets the truth and lets people know what's truly going on, right? So Lois never backs down from a fight. That's just who Lois Lane certainly is. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the articles and topics that Lois tackles in here maybe hit some people the wrong way. I'm not quite sure. So do I think it'll be as political? I mean, maybe just as political as what we did get from Supergirl, but I think that's in line with who Lois Lane is as a character, especially if we're going to be maybe focusing a little bit on her reporting life and working for the Daily Planet, right? So I'm sure certain things will definitely come up. It'll be interesting to see Superman's point of view, though, and how he reacts to certain things. So we'll see, though. We'll see. That's a good question, AJ. Thank you for asking it, man. Gabriel says, while Marvel Television did not have the best track record, I will always be grateful for Daredevil. Yeah, me too, man. Like a lot of people want a lot of these shows to kind of return. Me, just give me Daredevil. That's really like the only thing out of all the Marvel Television shows on Netflix, at least, that I would probably love to see. Maybe even Punisher. John Bernthal will probably be like the two that would I absolutely love to have back and reprise their roles or somehow bring them back into the MCU. Definitely both of those two characters. So yeah, we're super grateful for Daredevil, even Punisher as well. I was even really grateful for The Gifted. I thought that was a really stellar show. They had some pretty good stuff on there, man. So it'll definitely be hard to say goodbye to Marvel TV. Diamond says, do you think we'll get some sort of end credit for Wonder Woman 3 at the end of 84, or even a glimpse into the future DC film? I don't think Wonder Woman 3, but maybe something leading into an Amazonian movie. Patty Jenkins has mentioned the idea that her and Jeff Johns came up with a great story for like a spinoff dealing with the Amazonians over in Themyscira. So if anything, maybe an end credit scene to lead into that. And who knows? And the only reason why I say that too is, Patty has always mentioned the idea that she does not have plans for Wonder Woman 3 as of yet. I mean, she may have brief plans, but a lot of her plans are based off of what the world might have been before 2020. And Patty Jenkins does tend to like to kind of keep some real world aspects involved in her writing, right? So it feels like it's kind of current with the times, if you will. And so I think she's taken a hiatus right now from trying to tackle Wonder Woman 3, especially with the fact of her having an Amazonian movie kind of lined up, which I don't think she's probably going to direct. If anything, she'll probably will be maybe the writer or executive producer for that. But yeah, Patty Jenkins is about to be making herself a Star Wars film. So good luck in Warner Brothers in being able to get Patty Jenkins back after this. But listen, I'm sure I'm sure Patty Jenkins will continue to work for Warner Brothers at some particular point in time in her career, whether that's for Wonder Woman 3 or not, I don't know. But if they do have an end credit scene, it'll probably be towards the Amazonian movie or maybe another movie down the path that we don't really know about off the top of my head. What do you look forward to in Superman and Lois? And do you think we'll see Clark get his new suit? Or do you think we'll see how Clark got his new suit? No, I don't think we'll see how he got his new suit. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we just come into the opening and it's Superman in a brand new suit. I want to see this show open up with what we just talked about when we said the Superman Returns. Epic saving of people. I need to see Superman not kicking somebody's ass, but I want to see people in trouble, frightened for their lives, and Superman coming in to save them and giving everybody hope in as big of an epic way as you possibly can. Yes, that's how I certainly would love to see Superman and Lois certainly open up. But yes, I do look forward to it. I am interested to see what storylines and villains they use, right? Because I feel like Supergirl, not that Supergirl has used all of Superman's villains, but she has utilized them. And so I would like to see who they utilize for Superman and Lois certainly going forward. So for me, I think the villain choices, the Superman and his son aspect, I'm really looking forward to, and just how epic or like I am fascinated to see how epic they'll make Tyler look, or if Lois Lane will be the true lead of this series and just have Superman by the balls all season long. I really have no idea, but I'm really fascinated to see how this turns out. Tyler Hoechlin really needs to be redeemed from Crisis. Thanks a lot, Kingdom Come Superman. Yeah, that's the power of Brandon Routh, man. He'll make anybody shrink in size when you're standing next to him, bro. They're just two completely different people. Like, Brandon Routh is like two Tyler Hoechlin's together. Like if you just double up Tyler, then you get yourself the same swole sort of Brandon Routh. They clearly were on two different regimens here when they did their Crisis one. But I got to stop giving Tyler Hoechlin such a hard time. But I'm hoping that he looks even more impressive this time around. I honestly think just from the first look, even though it's photoshopped to hell, I do think the new look of Tyler in his Superman costume looks great. And some of the set photos that I have seen, he does look like he's swollen up a bit. He does look like he's swollen up a bit. So maybe he's listened to some of his critics online. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna put on some pounds, and he definitely did. But other than that, guys, I think that's probably going to go ahead and do it for us here. So thank you very much, everybody, for certainly joining me today. Always great to go ahead and talk with you guys about a ton of news that's certainly going down each and every day in our nerd pop culture. But guys, listen, also a friendly reminder before we leave, we do in fact have ourselves a Patreon account. If you want to go ahead and become a supporter of the channel, supporting this channel allows us not only to add bigger production value, so better cameras, better mics, but also allows us to spend more time in creating new exclusive content, early access content for you Patreons as well. So definitely go ahead and check us out whenever you get the chance. There will be a link in the description box below. So if you guys want to check out our tiers and figure out how you want to further support our channel, you certainly can at any particular point in time. And of course, if you guys have any live viewer questions, feel free to always submit them over to aplusopinions@gmail.com. If you read something throughout the week, nerd pop culture related, whether it's Marvel, DC, television, or movies, if it piques your interest, send us in your questions, guys, and we'll go ahead and get to them towards the end of every episode of A Plus Hero Report. So again, send them into aplusopinions@gmail.com, guys. And of course, listen, if you love the content that you saw here today, hit that subscribe button, guys. Join our family, become a part of our A Plus Opinions crew, and definitely go ahead and click that bell notification so when we do drop brand new videos, you will certainly be notified. And if you want to go ahead and follow us on social media, right here, guys, at A Plus Opinions, you can find us very active on our main page, which is our Facebook page. We're also active on our Twitter account, and you can also catch us on Instagram as well as Twitch also. But other than that, guys, again, no live episode next Sunday, but we will be kicking in the new year starting January 3rd with a brand new live episode. And of course, if we do have any reviews or news that drops before Christmas, we'll be more than happy to go ahead and keep you guys updated. So until January 3rd, guys, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And of course, keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.